Welcome to First Alarm Family First. I'm Jen Herrera alongside Carolyn Acosta. We started this show months ago with the intent on bringing awareness to PTSD, to mental health among first responders. And we've had an amazing experience doing that. We hope that we're making a difference. Sadly, though, we are still hearing stories. Just this week, a Miami-Dade firefighter, another Miami-Dade firefighter lieutenant, Mark Sharon, did take his own life. While we don't know the details of what Mark was going through, of course, we just want to point out that we are thinking of his family. We are thinking of his friends and our entire family with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. We do have a special guest today, not with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, but he is a firefighter. Carolyn, you want to go ahead and get us in?
Yes, today we're sitting down with Carlos Hechavarria, a firefighter from City of Miramar, a sergeant of arms for his union, and a board member of the Miramar Benevolence Association. Carlos recently joined the peer-to-peer support team, where he will bring his professional experience, not only being on the job, but also his personal journey with mental health. Carlos, would you welcome? Would you like to share a little bit about yourself and tell us your
Yes.
story?
Good morning. Thank you, girl. Thank you, ladies, for having me. As you guys said, my name's Carlos. I work for City of Miramar. I've been on for 8 years now. Currently, the rank of driver, engineer, paramedic. And yes, I was recently, about 3 months ago, I was voted into our sergeant of arms position for our e-board. And then I've been working with the benevolence since 2018. Started off as a vice chair, and then given some circumstances and history of my family and stuff, I kind of had to take some time away. But I was brought on recently, probably about a year ago, as a trustee sort of event planner, I guess you would call it. And then, yes, within the last couple weeks, I've been taking the certification classes for the peer-to-peer counseling support. Yeah, I just look forward to it. It's gonna be cool.
Carlos, what in your experience, life experience, firefighter experience, kind of led you down this path as far as your new role in the peer-to-peer support?
Well, it's a loaded question. To be honest with you, obviously the job has its perks. You know, as great as it is, we also see some gnarly stuff, some darkness. But really, what kind of, I guess, affected me the most was in 2021, I lost my mom. She, I mean, she was the matriarch of our city. Like, I was born and raised in Miramar for 29 years. My mom was the biggest showwoman you could ever see. Like, if like, everybody knew her around the department and stuff. Anytime you go to Publix to go shopping with your crew, she was there, kind of like hooting and hollering, always asking everybody, "Do you know my son?" And she was our biggest fan. Obviously, 2019 through 2023, I would say, was kind of a tough time for everybody with the whole pandemic going on. But 2021 was really rough for me and my family. My mom just out of nowhere, just, she got sick. And we kind of had to go through the whole mysterious, not really being able to go see her, or actually not at all being able to go see her in the hospital. My mom was transported to one of our local hospitals by three of my best friends that were on a rescue truck. And it was just kind of like the darkest time of my life, because I went from talking to her and kind of like nagging at her about regular son and mom stuff to just her telling me, "Hey, I'm going to the hospital," to a week into it, the hospital contacted me and pretty much telling me, "Hey, your mom's going to get intubated and there's a chance you're never going to see her again." And that's exactly what really happened until the day she passed away. Um, I'm going to try not to say a lot. That's like my biggest pet peeve of mine.
You're
So
fine. You're
I
fine. It's
apologize.
natural. It's very natural to in conversation. Don't worry.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Um, there we go. Good.
There we
So
go.
yeah, it was quite tough. I never really dealt with a huge loss. I obviously at work you see it all. I've seen children pass, I've seen adults pass, but when it hits home, like it's being a family member, you're not really prepared for that. There's no book or there's no chapter in our EMS books, fire books that kind of prepare you for the whole, hey, time to be a big boy. You got to deal with not only your emotions, but the emotions of your dad, your sister, grandma, everybody in the family tree. And I kind of put my own, I guess you could say, my own emotions to the back. I could put it to the back burner. I didn't have time to really bleed for her thoroughly. I had to essentially damage control for everybody. And it was tough because I don't really think I was able to fully grieve. I just kind of had to flip that switch, get back into business and say, hey, take care of everybody else, screw yourself. Initially, it kind of worked out. It built my relations up with some of my family. Like, not that they were bad, but it showed my family, hey, I'm reliable. I'm not just the youngest baby in the family anymore. I'm essentially the big boy. But within a couple months, I started to notice like things were hitting me differently. Coming home from work or going to work, I was burning a bunch of sick time. I didn't want to go to work. And prior to my mom being sick, I went 5 years with never burning an hour of sick time. I was so gung ho. I loved being at work. I was busiest station for a couple years, busiest truck. And then after that, I kind of just, I hate to say it, but my everything kind of degraded. I started connecting like my old station that I was at, or that I moved to for the new year 2022, was literally 1.2 miles away from my parents' house. So every time I drive through the neighborhood on a call, I would see their house, and it would just shatter me because I was like, man, I'm right there. Like, why was I not on duty that day? Not to take away from my buddies, but like, not that I would have done anything, but I just wish I could have done more. So those questions started happening, like, why did you fail? Why did you fail, mom? Why did you fail this? And I essentially ended up finding myself having those really dark thoughts and having the vivid memories and just bad imagery in my head. And one day I broke. I was at work, and this was after, I would say, a couple weeks of just showing up to work and at noon being locked up in my bunk, crying like a baby, hugging a pillow or a blanket. My mom stitched or sewed up, a pillowcase for me, and I would be hugging it, screaming, crying, and my captain would come into my room like, "Hey, dude, we got a call. Did you hear that?" I literally never. Tones were going. I didn't hear it, and obviously, there's a stigma. You don't want to. You're like,
Right.
let's call it what it is. We're heroes. We are heroes. You don't want to like reach out and seek help because we are the help. And it was just, I noticed, like, I was a new dad at the time. My daughter was 4 months old. Now she's almost four. But I started noticing that it was just, no matter how many mental resets I took trying to come home and just disconnect from the job, disconnect from the traumas that I went through, and like the vivid pictures of my mom, it was not disconnecting. And one day I reached out to our peer-to-peer program at the time, and yeah, they essentially, my department took very good care of me. I'm so thankful for them. But there were some like discrepancies, and essentially, I found myself on administrative leave. Thankfully, my department gave me time to heal and to grieve, and they pretty much sat me down and said, "Hey, dude, like, we need you sharp as possible, and if you're not sharp mentally, emotionally, spiritually, however, it's the same as if you're not sharp physically." And at the time, it's like, you talk about a 27-year-old guy that's, at the time, like, in top shape of my life physically, but like, I was no good to my crew members, to the citizens, to the ducks that we pull from the drain, if I couldn't just wrap my head around like what had happened. So it was a dark time, and this was, now we're going on 2.5 years later, and I essentially reached out to the peer-to-peer guys, and I said, "Hey, look, I walked through it. I didn't just read a book. No disrespect to the guys that have taken the classes, but I was like, I earned this shit. Like, the only way to really, I guess, see change is be the change." And I 2 foot in, just jumped right in. I said, "What do you guys need from me? How do you want to do this?" And yeah, now I'm certified, and we're working with the department, the benevolent, all that, to get not only resources for our brothers and sisters in our department, but for their families as well. So
Awesome. So, having gone through the peer to peer support, what does your ideal support program look for you?
so some of the discrepancies I found, right, was any lay person, any random person, if you're having a bad day and you reach out, whether it's through your insurance or directly to, I would say 90% of the mental health clinics, physicians, anything, the main issue I found was scheduling. So I would try to schedule an appointment, and I won't lie to you guys, probably like 40 different clinics, doctors, everything. I even went onto those telemedicine things. And a lot of them, they would tell me, "Hey, we're fully booked for the next 6 to 9 months, so what I can do is put you on a standby." And I was like, I don't have that time.
Carlos, were those, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just curious, were those resources offered up or provided from the department, or were those that you found on your own?
The IAFF, they have I thank God every day for them. They have the greatest peer to peer programs. The only issue was that I found was a lot of those physicians that they had a laundry list of people. I'm talking like hundreds from down all the way in Key West, all the way up to Jacksonville, right? So a lot, they're not updated, and that's the issue I found. So a lot of those people either no longer are in practice, so you would call asking for Dr. Blue, and they'd be like, "Oh, Dr. Blue retired 20 years ago. Sorry, it's this person now." And it's like, okay. And ultimately, I kind of lost hope, you know. So I reached out to I'll call her Dr. B. She asked me not to mention her name, but a mutual friend of mine, Dr. B. I essentially reached out to her in a crisis, and I was like, "Hey, look," I explained everything, and she said, "I'm going to take care of you." Like, I don't normally do this because she's no longer practicing on the civilian level. She's practicing, like, you know, for the county and stuff. But she took me under her wing. She essentially, yeah, she cared for me, and after that, she was like, "What you need to do is go back to the drawing board, sit with your department, sit with other locals, sit with other counties, and kind of clean up that doctor's list or that laundry list of doctors." And so that's what I've kind of been doing over the last couple weeks and months and so on. We've been just putting together through the IAFF, like, their resources are great. Another thing was they had offered me, "Hey, you know, we have the center over in Maryland." However, having a 6-month-old child, I did not want to leave her. Like, she's 4 years old today, and I'm not leaving her. So a huge thing was the flexibility. So I was able to, with the help of my department and obviously IFF and all the amazing things they can do, they kind of devised like a little outpatient program. I'd meet with her 2 to 3 times a week at times, and then it went down to 1 time a week. And now I just see her once a week. Still to this day, it's kind of like my maintenance. But yeah, like it was a bit of a limbo, and it's kind of hard to rely on stuff like that, especially if you're going through a crisis. Like, the last thing you want to be dealing with is being told, "Hey, your copay is going to be $300 a session, or XYZ, or hey, this person doesn't take your insurance, call back somebody else." Luckily, I wasn't to, you know, the point that others have suffered at, that it was essentially, you know, make it or break it. But after about 8 or 9 days of just calling and leaving voicemails and being on hold and hearing that elevator music on the hold line and, "Oh, your call's number 9 in line," I just said, like, "Screw this shit, I'm done." And luckily, you know, like I said, Dr. B, I reached out to her through a family member, and she was able to, I guess, buy me some time. And ultimately, it started off with, "Hey, I'll take care of you for a couple weeks," to, I mean, it's been quite a couple of years now, and you know, she's still in my corner, coaching me up. And it's yeah. So you kind of have
Awesome.
to adapt, but
I'm glad you found that, person, because I know with Alex too, towards the very end, I mean, I'm looking at his phone records and credit card, and it was $300 a session. You could tell that he was in a crisis, the way he was reaching out and trying to make appointments or get through to something. So I'm glad you found that.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. B sounds like a true angel.
Yes.
Oh yeah, she's a badass. She's a badass.
I wish we could share her name, but I'm going to respect her privacy, that we're not going to do that. How have your fellow firefighters or other first responders, not necessarily with your department, because we know that you guys are all very connected, even among different departments, how have they responded to having you, Carlos? I know you just started the peer-to-peer support group, but just knowing your backstory and knowing that you're there to help them, what has their reaction been?
So I would like to say, and I generally do believe so, that it is kind of like, okay, cool, like, you know, like a sigh, not a sigh of relief, because the other two members I have, Anthony and Sean, they're phenomenal human beings, very intelligent guys, you know, very sensitive. Like, you know, they were just dispatched out for the Captain Gustin situation. I'm sure they're going to get deployed now for this situation. But a lot of people in the department, you know, they saw what I went through. They saw that I went from like gung ho, door kicking, and just being like essentially the clown of the department, always in a good mood, no matter if it was a 3 a.m. call or 3 p.m. call, if it was a tow pain or a structure fire. And then they saw me completely flip of a switch over the course of months, just disintegrate into like a shell of what I once was. And, you know, it was cool because over the last couple months, we've had a couple members that have gone through stuff, and I found that they were reaching out to me, and they were kind of telling me, "Hey, I need your help." And I would always try to direct them out of respect for the guys. Like, "Hey, look, we have a new peer-to-peer program. I will guide you as much as I can, but let me reach out to them." So after a couple of people I'm not going to say a couple, like if it's 10 people, but a few people, a handful of them reached out to me. I kind of put two and two together and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just go, like, make this official, join the team. And I like a lot of these guys in peer to peer programs, they go to courses and seminars and all that stuff. And it's great. You know, you learn a ton. I've been doing one, I did one last week, I did one a couple weeks ago. But it's one thing to read about it versus actually go through it. So my real life application of it and them seeing like the 180 from good to bad to then now 180 to back bad to good, it gives them hope. Like, they saw that if this guy can grieve about, you know, 6 months later over the loss of his mom, and I'm gonna say it, like I'm gonna say it flat out, I was the biggest mama's boy there is. So when I lost my mom, I lost my best friend, I lost my lawyer, my therapist, everything you can think of. Like, she would beat my ass, but she would also nurture me, you know,
Good
rightfully
mom.
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Old school Cuban, God fearing, she was the shit, you know. Essentially, I guess it gives people more comfort, and they know that I'm the biggest, you know, clown there is at the department. I'm always joking. I'm always like roasting people and stuff like that. And it's all like family love, but they know that like, hey, you call me. Like I got called one day at like 6 in the morning, and I heard some things that I didn't want to hear from a member that I truly love, and I was half asleep. You know, eyes still kind of shut. I was like, shit, hang on a second. But I stayed on the phone with them until we can reach out to, I believe it was one of our chaplains, and I got them the help that they needed. I continued to follow up daily, and then I even told them, "Hey, if I'm annoying you, I apologize, but I'm not really sorry. Like I'm gonna make sure you're good." We went to lunch. We've gone to, you know, I showed up to their gym, trained with them a couple times, just to show them that like no matter how crazy you feel, you're not that crazy, right? It's depression, anxiety, rage, anguish, whatever you want to call them. Like that's normal physiological responses to everything. And I wanted them to know that like it is totally fine for a grown ass man to cry. I know that there's a stigma and stuff, but like, dude, let that shit out. You know, same with women. Like, your husband's not going to think you're weak. The boys that work side by side you, we're not going to think you're weak at all. Like, we're human at the end of the day. We all have, you know, same lungs that everybody else does, same heart, same brain. And a number that like really shocked me was that, you know, the standard civilian experiences like 3 to 6 fuck moments, excuse me, like oh shit moments in their lives. Whereas first responders, whether we're cops, firefighters, people in the military, we experience that a lot. Like I think the number was like 3 to 500 within like the first 10 years of your career. You can have like true adrenaline raising and then dumping calls that destroys you on a hormonal level. So I've just been kind of doing my research. I've been looking at the numbers, and now like my thing is we want to ask those questions that no one wants to ask. Like I had some of those horrible thoughts that no one ever wanted to have, or no, like you believe if you have that, you're going to get medicated, you're going to be put in an insane asylum. But the reality is, no, you're not. Like it's the only way to combat that is to talk about it. So I've kind of just broken that barrier that people have, like that fear. And they see me pull up to the station. I'm like, "What's up?" And they're all like, "Oh, shit, he's here." And then I'm like, "What's up? Listen, I want to talk to you guys." I bring it up, and it's, you know, we're gonna incorporate that more and more, just to have that as not necessarily a dinner time talk, because it's a little, you know, I enjoy my dinners. I cook for my crew every shift, so I don't want to like have a negative talk, but if it's, hey guys, look, let's meet up tomorrow, like at Herrera and get a coffee or at Starbucks, wherever the heck. But we need to chat about it. Like I want to make sure we're all good, whether you've been on 6 months or you've been on 29 years and you're in the drop and you're about to retire. Another thing also is we're changing is I want to reach out to the retirees. Like, they paved the way for us. And I don't ever believe that, well, you're no longer a contributing member. No, you've contributed your entire career, whether it was a long career, full career or not. And it's our duty now, because of everything you guys have left behind for us, to now check in on you guys. We could check in on that homeless guy on the side of the road who just wants a warm blanket, and we could give them the best bedside manner. Well, a simple phone call to your retiree just to say, "What's up, dude?" or "Hey, mama, how you doing?" I think that goes such a long way.
It really does. I mean, that's another gap that we need a bridge too, is that whole, retiree, and they need a place to also feel a part of even after they're done with their career.
And on that note, Lieutenant Mark Sharon was a retired Miami-Dade firefighter. When you hear stories like the one that we heard this week, like we heard just a couple of weeks ago with Captain Gustin, when we heard Alex's story back in July, I mean, this is 3 firefighters in less than a year. What was your reaction this week, Carlos, to hearing that?
I mean, I won't lie to you, and Carolyn, again, like my heart goes out to you and your family. I tell you this all the time. I think you're a badass woman. Like what you've been able to do, and not only as like a mother, but like for the community. Like my hat goes off to you till forever. I won't lie, it rocks you. I actually have. I'm the driver engineer for Quint 70. In my little like top panel, we actually have Alex's his in loving memory card with the prayer on the back, and like I high five it every time I get in the truck. I remember him when they would pull up the helicopters and stuff like that. Same with Captain Gustin. That dude was the patriarch of this all. You don't know fire rescue unless you know Captain Bill Gustin's name. It rocks you, right? Because I didn't really know Lieutenant Mark Sharon, but I can imagine an incredible dude. When I hear that, it kind of scares you because you're like, these are some of the baddest dudes out. Like toughest dudes, gnarliest jobs. Like Miami-Dade's no joke. I know that there were like flight medic is next level, and then Captain Gustin was at the busiest station down there, one of them. That dude didn't stop. I watched all his videos from when I was in minimum standard school to even to today. And he talks about the importance of training and, and being tough and being strong and being the first one to the call. So like when you hear these guys and like you hear how it all ended, like I asked my peers at my job, like, how does that make you feel? Because I was overwhelmed with emotions the Sunday morning I found out Captain Gustin, when they let the news out. I won't lie to you, I was at the gym, I was working out, I was getting ready because we had our St. Patrick's Day event for our benevolent, and it completely shattered me because I was like, this dude is the Michael Jordan of fire rescue. For him to unfortunately feel that way, and no one will truly know unless like you're inside his brain, and you can't, unfortunately. But it almost it rocks you because you're like, you always think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and when you see these pivotal individuals unfortunately suffer the fates they did, you subconsciously I dropped back to that scared little boy that was missing his mom, and I was really emotional in the gym. I cut my workout short. I told my partner, hey brother, I love you, I'm going, I gotta go just take care of something. I told him I had to let my dogs out, but in reality I was just like crying in my car because I was like, fuck man, what does that tell me? But then you quickly you wipe that and you say, hey man, you know what that tells you? That like you got to work harder. Suicide, unfortunately, and I even hate to say the word, it it's not going to stop, right? Like it's not a matter of if it's ever going to stop, whether it's on the civilian level or the first responder level. It's a matter of when it's going to happen again, who it's going to happen to. I was just I was devastated, but at the same time, we did what we did. We had the St. Patrick's Day event. A lot of my members that are in our department were very keen of Captain Gustin, and same with Alex. Like a lot of my guys were just devastated. I know a lot of them used to teach at the college with him. They were pretty much career long friends with him. So all I cared about was like, are you boys good? Let me check in on you guys. We raised the glass. We had a moment of silence for Captain Gustin that day, but it was more like our little preliminary celebration of life. And it was a beautiful event. Like everybody was there, retirees as well. We went outside, we shared a toast. I tried to share a toast, but yeah, it was St. Patrick's Day, so like I really didn't get proper words out. But ultimately, we all spoke to each other, and we just told each other like, hey man, we just got to push forward in memory of these badass dudes. I'm not too familiar with the individual who passed away this week, but my main thing would be and is like we got to check in on their families. I will randomly shoot Carolyn a text like, hey, just holiday time. Like I know those are tough for me, so I shot her a text on Thanksgiving saying like, hey, thank you for. We had the event last year, the golf tournament where I met her, and I was like, I just wanted to let you know, like, you and your family are in my heart because I know that today hurts a little bit more for me, so I can imagine for anyone else.
Thank you. I appreciate that too. That was awesome. Thank you. For anyone listening today that might be struggling, in silence, what's one thing you want them to hear?
So, my biggest thing was like it's not weak to ask for help, right? Like I'm sure you guys have heard this time and time again, but the reality is the stigma. Like a lot of guys, we think, oh, if you ask for help or if you cry, you're soft, you're a little bitch. Like that's no, like on the contrary. Like I think if you are a tough son of a gun or daughter of a gun, show your true toughness by silencing that voice in your head that's telling you stay quiet. Don't do it. And I truly think that like, listen, the only way you show true toughness is to like introspectively look at yourself and say, I have an issue. I'm feeling X type of way. I need to help. So my recommendation to you all is like, if you're feeling some kind of way, do something about it. You know, if you don't want to necessarily reach out to your department, because that's another issue that I ran into. I was worried. I didn't really know that if it would truly stay in the department or in the peer-to-peer group, right? Like you worry about it leaking out. You heard the term telephone telefirefighter. Like something
Hmm.
happens on the west side of the city, 2 hours later, the whole east side knows. And I'm sure it's the same way in Miami-Dade, even though they have 3,000 plus members, Broward County, Palm Beach, the list goes on. So whether you have to reach out to your peer-to-peer or go to your church, you know, go to a marriage counselor if you're having marital issues, whatever it is, I recommend just doing it. If not, like one of my goals with our peer-to-peer program is not just for my local and my guys and girls. I want to reach out to the real soldiers that are fighting in the back, right? Like the family members, the wives, the husbands, the children, the grandparents, whoever it is. But I would eventually down the road, I'd love to have something that's like completely anonymous. I'd like to team up with like locals, their peer-to-peer groups, and just maybe come up with like a game plan or a strategy. Like, you know, if a hurricane comes, we know how to enact like hurricane EOCs and all that stuff. Well, like that's a emotional hurricane that individuals, it can hit you on a Monday, it can hit you. There's no seasons for this, right? Like it happens any time of the year. Well, I'd like to kind of have like an anonymous hotline, which I know there are, but they're a little bit taboo and hard to get to. But that you can call. I don't have to introduce myself. I don't have to tell you shit about me. I just got to hear, hey, what's going on, man? What do you got going on? Or miss, what do you have going on? You tell me, and I'm not going to tell you, give me a second. I'll call you back in 3 days. But right there, I could send you over to whatever resources you got, whatever I have. But I always think that, like, the dumbest question, I tell my athletes this. I used to coach high school cheerleading, and I would always tell them the dumbest question is the one that you don't ask.
Right.
It's the same for reaching out. Like if you don't seek help or anything, I think that you're only doing yourself a disservice, but not only yourself, like you got to think about your family.
Carlos, we're running out of time, but I want to ask you this, and it's kind of circling back because you just brought up the whole dumb question is not asking a question. Earlier on in the conversation, you said one of your goals and one of the challenges, but that you're willing to take on is asking the questions that nobody wants to ask when you're working with people. What are those questions that nobody wants to ask?
Simplest way to put it, I want to ask somebody, hey, have you ever thought about what life would be without you? Like if you took your own life tomorrow, right? It's kind of taboo. No one really wants to say yes because you feel like, holy shit, I'm going to get Baker acted or I might lose my job. But the reality is that, like, I never once, growing up, never once thought, oh, you know, what if I took my own life? Fuck it, I'm done. Like, I never once thought that. But when you're going through all those hormonal changes, you know, and like work doesn't help too. Like, our normal work week is not a 40-hour work week. So, like, it's kick your ass. We actually are local. We just pushed for, and we're the first in Broward County for the 24/70. It brings us down to a 42-hour work week. A huge reason why our commission and our city was able to is because we brought that up. We said, hey, look, there's a lot of guys and girls that are bleeding on the inside, and they don't want to ask themselves, or they don't want to talk about the scary truth of suicide is everywhere. It affects everybody. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight, fat, skinny, right? Like it does not matter. Yeah, my views moving forward is I'm going to show up to the station and I'm going to put pressure on you, not like bad pressure. I believe like pressure is a privilege, right? So I'm going to ask you those questions that you don't want to bring up. So my views are, you know, take a crew out of service, sit them down, kind of like a powwow, and just be like, have any of you truly ever had those thoughts? Whether it was direct, like, hey, I want to take a shotgun, or, you know, and I'm sorry to get in detail, or this or that, or if I want to imagine a life if I didn't exist.
Mhm.
It's scary because, like I said, I never once had that in my head, but when I was just down bad and I was in that state of mind, you know, going through the grieving process, I did have those thoughts. And I'm not scared to say it. I've told my friends, you know, you learn a lot about life when your friends start dying, when your family starts dying, and you learn a lot about yourself. And some of the shit you learn, it is scary. So I didn't have somebody other than Dr. B who asked me those questions. And at first I lied straight to my teeth. I was like, nope, never did. Never. But then as she peeled back layers and she got to know about me more and more, I did one day talk to her and I told her, look, Dr. B, I did. I have had those thoughts in my head. And I noticed, especially like coming off of 48 or something, a hard shift, my cortisol levels through the roof, my testosterone levels are probably down, you know, that's when your brain is the scariest. And I try to do like a 10-minute reset sometimes when I would pull into the driveway, because I would always, like, at the time when I was with my partner, I would always have to tell myself like, hey bro, like, she doesn't understand what is going on between her ears. So she also didn't know how to ask those questions. And not that she should, but I feel like if I can at a local level, like, go to the department and ask my guys and girls like what's going on, at least I could. It's an honest topic that needs to be brought up, and we need to educate everybody. And I hope that whoever's watching this, like, take a piece from that. Like, don't feel ashamed, don't feel scared, don't feel crazy. I hate that word is thrown for every little thing. Oh, that person's crazy, that person's a psycho. Like, embrace that shit. Yeah, we're all a little crazy. Like, crazy is beautiful in my opinion, like, but you do need to seek help. And whether it's professional, whether it's, spiritual, by going to church, whoever, help is help. And the only way is like when you get to the other side. And I won't lie and act like, oh, I'm perfect now. Like, no, I still go through my days. It comes in waves, and I'm sure we can all attest to that. But I do know that in my little toolbox that's like in here now, I can become mindful, and I know, hey, I'm having a shitty day. Well, listen, just take a day off, like, rest, man, like, stay home, like, play guitar, go to the park with my daughter, go to the gym, whatever it is. But like, I've turned to asking myself, like, why are you feeling this way? Figure it out. What do I have to do in order to stop feeling this way? Like, as first responders, obviously we get called to the shittiest times of people's lives, and we're expected to solve problems. Well, if you're not mentally sharp and you're not solving your own problems, you're no good for yourself, for your crew. You essentially pose a risk to everybody who's involved with you.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, I think it's fantastic, the steps that you are taking. I think not only firefighters for Miramar, but firefighters across South Florida and beyond are lucky that you're taking this on. I'm sorry about your loss and what it took to get there, but I do believe that God has a plan for all of us and that you are carrying out that.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
How does connect with you to support your like peer to peer?
I'm sorry. It kind of like
connect with you if they were.
Well, so we're working on like a contact. I mean, my if you ever need an email me, it's my first and last name at miramarfire.com. I do have an AOL, but that's my personal one, and I've been rocking this since like 2005, so I don't want to drop that one out there. But I mean, if you see me at the gym, you see me at the bar, you see me at Publix, wherever, Barnes and Noble, I'm at Barnes and Noble like probably like twice a week. Come up to me, ask me, hey man, I heard your podcast. I heard you on the podcast, and it goes badass. Like, I'm very outgoing, so I'm not gonna feel like it's weird. I'm not gonna be like, who the heck are you? If you ever need anything, I offer the same to others that I don't know, I've never worked with, never met, that I offer to my guys and girls. Like, I'm an open book. I'm extremely transparent, so I'm gonna tell you a lot about me, and I also do not stop talking. So I love to talk. If you need anything, you call me, you message me. I'm available at all times. If I can't, I will point you to the right direction, to someone who is.
You love to talk, and it paid off because 36 minutes just flew by. Carlos, thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you so much.
As always, we remind everybody, if you see something, to sound the alarm. Take care.
Thank you, ladies.